Welcome everyone, it is Sunday the 20th of August 2017, I'm the Diligent Rascal. Welcome to another one of these little videos that I'm doing, news and current affairs, things that are going on. You can catch me on Twitter now, I've now got a handle, it is at a Diligent Rascal, that's at a Diligent Rascal. You can get me on the Twitter now, hit me up. Basically on the Twitter I'm just following people that are in the spotlight, so basically following the Prime Minister, following Jeremy Corbyn, following the President of the United States, following Donald Trump's personal account, following the White House, following CNN, BBC, loads of newspapers, the Mail, the Telegraph, the Sun. So I'm just following all this stuff, and what I'm going to be doing is other videos. I'm just going to be trawling through Twitter. I might even do another one tonight. Well, I'm just going to have a little trawl through Twitter and just see basically what's going on, the news that people are trying to shove down our throats. You can see the similarities for all the stories, the links, the things that are going on. I've also got like the Associated Press on there and things like that. So you can see, you know, where all this stuff's coming from, how it trickles down, who covers what angles. So yeah, it's me, the Diligent Rascal. Get me on Twitter, at a Diligent Rascal. We're going to be talking, this episode is going to be a bit of a tribute. It's going to be a bit of a kind of, I don't know, you know, a sit and think about it. And one of these things where we don't really realise the impact people have on us until they're gone. And someone who has passed away within the last day or so is Dick Gregory. So if you've searched this video, you probably would know who Dick Gregory is. You may not know who Dick Gregory is. If you do not know who Dick Gregory is, it's good that you've tuned in and you're listening, because this is a dedication to him. Rest in peace. It's a very interesting character, Dick Gregory. Really, really interesting character. So, as I said before, this is Sunday the 20th of August 2017. I am the Diligent Rascal. This is the tribute to Dick Gregory, and we're going to have a little chat about, you know, what he was, what kind of guy was he, you know, what people are labelling him. I've seen all over the news, they're referring to him as an activist, basically, a civil rights activist, a comedian. And they're not really mentioning at all, none of them are mentioning at all, the fact that he was or would be seen as a conspiracy theorist. Because he was exactly that. He was a conspiracy theorist. If you were to take the information he was putting out, he was putting out a lot of stuff that, you know, people can grab hold of and say, yep, that's tangible, that seems possible. But also there's a lot of stuff that he was putting out there that was, in most people's eyes, outrageous and outlandish. There was a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of stuff he was touching that the mainstream wasn't touching. You know, he was a conspiracy theorist. His main catchphrase that I got from him in recent years was, "It's a game, man. It's a game." And he knew it was a game. And I think he played the game. And this is what we're going to talk about today, and the fact that he's died pretty much smack bang on an eclipse. The fact that he has died at a time when the black community in America really needs someone like him still to be out and talking about these things. I'm going to be playing you bits of videos of him talking about stuff that would be seen as conspiracy theory. You know, I don't know how all the people mourning him, maybe in the UK, I don't know how what they took from him or what he was. Maybe they thought, yeah, you know, he's a civil rights guy, he's done a lot of protesting, been in jail a few times, you know, that kind of side of him. But I don't know how many people actually recently have heard what he's been putting out and what he's been saying, you know, and some of the stuff he's been saying for years as well. You know, some of the stuff he says it is really surprising that he hasn't got in more shit. Maybe he has got in more shit in America, and I don't know about it. Please hit me up on the Twitter at a Diligent Rascal if in America he has got a lot more shit over the years, over the stuff he said. But in the UK, you know, we don't really hear about Dick Gregory in the mainstream news or anything for saying the stuff he says. It's only because I watch Real Black channel on YouTube. I have done for a while, and all of the videos that have recently been coming out over the past few years with Dick Gregory, mostly on that channel, Real Black on YouTube. And that is this channel here, Real Black TV. Really good channel. There's a lot of other stuff from movies, stand-up comedy, but there's a lot of stuff with Dick Gregory. A hell of a lot of stuff with Dick Gregory. Interviews on there with him. Okay, so the sort of stuff he was talking about is not mainstream stuff. Alright? He did talk about things as they happened. So he did talk about the Trayvon Martin stuff, and he did talk about, you know, other things. Christopher Dorner. Christopher Dorner was a big one for me, and Dick Gregory, real big one. You know, and this is why we're talking about him today, really, because this is why I want to talk about him today, because the stuff that he was talking about was conspiracy stuff. It all was. He was one of these people that just knew a lot of people, and he seemed to have quite a lot of sway in the community. And it was like, you know, if anyone else was talking about it, you know, he didn't really have mainstream views. He didn't really have, you know, a show on TV or anything like that, from what I'm aware. But people still know who he is, and they still would look and watch the YouTube videos of him in. So it's not like he's a nobody. He's actually someone with some sway in that community, and the stuff he was talking about was outlandish shit, really, seen through most people's eyes. So this is the channel Real Black. Check out all his videos on there. There's a hell of a lot of them. I'll show you a couple of them right now. So on here you see every single thing really talking about him is talking about him being either an activist or a stand-up comedian, of which he was both of them. But none of them is civil rights activist, comedian. Civil rights activist, comedian. But no one talks about him being a conspiracy theorist. And that's exactly what he was. And that's why I love the fella. I absolutely love the fella. He may have been a disinformation person. He may have been putting some bullshit out there. No doubt he probably was playing the game, because he knew he had to play the game. And this is one of these interviews I'm going to show you here. He says something in the interview. What does he say? He says, he says something, and he explains a situation and who was involved in it, and he just says, look, it's a game, as he always used to say all the time, and it's a game. He knew it was a game, and he was probably playing the game, and that's why he was allowed to say some of the stuff he was saying, and people never really paid attention to it. All right, he talks about the geezer said that there's 2 Donald Trumps. The geezer said there's 2 Donald Trumps, and I will show you the footage of him talking about it. You know, and he also talks about Ben Carlson, how Trump called him out and called him a paedophile, and then the next minute gives him a job. And Carlson says, oh, it's all right, you know, there's 2 Donald Trumps. So he's getting evidence. You know, and even the guy that interviews him goes on Google or wherever, taps it in and gets the quote from Carlson. Now, this guy was not chatting shit. You know, he had a lot of knowledge, a lot of truth. And even the stuff that people think wasn't truth was probably just a little bit too far-fetched for them to believe. But it still doesn't mean that it's not true. So Dick Gregory, not just a civil rights activist, not just a comedian, he was a conspiracy theorist. Okay? A lot of the stuff on Real Black TV. I want to give them big shout out because I am showing a couple of their videos. But boom, that's where it come from. And when Dick Gregory used to speak, when he talks about stuff, he always talks about stuff going on in the background, not just the obvious. You know, he's one of these guys that's digging deep. He was digging deep, and that's what I mean. He's a special character. He's always got a story for all occasions. You know, he's got a story about Michael Jackson, about meeting Michael Jackson. He's got a story about Dave Chappelle and how they become friends, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit. And, you know, and he's always there. He says, "Oh, I don't hang around with entertainers or athletes," but he's always got these stories about these guys. You know, there's a lot of stuff that he talks about. Like I say, it's a pure conspiracy. You know, up there with the Alex Jones and you know how most people would see it's outrageous. But obviously, if you're tuned into my channel and you've got your eyes open a little bit in the world, you can see this stuff that goes on. And this is why characters like Dick Gregory and people like him are important, because who are they? What do they do? Where do they get their info from? You know, these kind of people, they're like mysteries in themselves, you know. Dick Gregory was on those people. Alright, and this is where he talks about things going on in the background. Just a little introduction to kind of what I'm talking about, how he wasn't just a civil rights activist or a comedian. This guy was a pure conspiracy theorist, man. He'd be seen as a nutter. Most people would listen to some of the stuff that he's talking about now and just go, this geezer's fucking nuts, mate. But this is why we're doing this today. Alright, so listen up to what he's saying in this.
So, I mean, is there such a thing as an Illuminati? Is there an Illuminati?
If you know about it, it's not. That's bullshit.
Okay.
The real things that count, most black folk don't know about it. The Illuminati, black folk can't even read or write know about the Illuminati. What's that? Huh? It's like the Boule. Talk about black folk. Well, tell me what business they own. What company they own. Y'all sit around talking about the Boule, huh? What goes behind that? Okay? This is stuff they put out, man. It's a game.
Now, how?
And that's what I'm talking about. That was the point I was saying. You know, he's saying this is the stuff they put out. This is a game. And he knows. He's playing the game. And that's what he says. He's talking about the Illuminati. He's saying, is there an Illuminati? And Dick turns to him and says, look, if you know about it, they've put it out for a reason for you to know. That everything that's going on in the background, that's the important shit. And that's what he goes into. Some of the stuff he's spoken about has been, you know, has been crazy. You know, he's spoken about the Christopher Dorner stuff, and he was talking about how Christopher Dorner was maybe going to go around and start killing cops because of police brutality, and, you know, that was then going to be used for gun control. He talks about there's 2 Trumps. He talks about Sandy Hook being a drill and stuff. You know, some of this stuff is deep conspiracy stuff. You know, and he really hits out at religion when he talks about the King James Bible, and he talks about King James being gay, and, you know, how he was a lover with Lord Buckingham and stuff. This is stuff he talks about on his interviews when he's talking to Real Black. You know, this is the stuff he's always talking about, and this is pure conspiracy stuff, you know, or seem to be. And he talks about all the veterans that commit suicide and how all the wars are engineered. You know, this is deep stuff that he's talking about. He's a man with connections, and he knows influential people, and people look to him for answers. You know, famous people do know him. This is a story about Dave Chappelle, where Dick Gregory is talking about something, and the interviewer asks him about Dave Chappelle, and they get around talking to why Dave left and walked away and went to Africa. And Dick Gregory steps in, he says, no, he says, that's not the real story. I'll tell you the real story. The real story is, I was having an interview with someone. They said they were going to go and speak to Dave Chappelle. And this are all round when all this was happening. So Dick Gregory turned to the guy and said, look, here's my number. When you see Dave Chappelle, tell him Dick Gregory said give him a call. And of course, Dave Chappelle gave him a bell. And apparently they were talking, and the real reason why he walked away wasn't anything to do with the pressures or anything to do with that. It was to do with the fact that Dave Chappelle had a writing partner. He was a friend, this white boy he'd known from college, from years and years, and they were writing together. And Dick Gregory talks about the money being in the writing, and this is why they wanted to take it away from Dave Chappelle. So what they did when they made him sign that 50 million contract, they had a team of writers, a team of 20 writers, and they were going to be doing the majority of the writing, so therefore Dave wouldn't have been doing it, he wouldn't have been getting the money. And what the fucked up thing was as well that the white boy that had been Dave's friend jumped ship and went to work with the writers. And this is what Dick Gregory said Dave Chappelle told him on the phone that no one else knew about. They became friends after that and blah, blah, blah. So this is a character that he has reach in that kind of community and in Hollywood and in America, in journalistic circles everywhere, really. Everyone is Dick Gregory. He's been around for a long time. He's been in those circles. So he's got other stories about Michael Jackson, which I'll play you later. He also talks about black people being shapeshifters. How, you know, we can, they're saying we can change, and, you know, talking about people in Africa that can change into animals and things like this. So the stuff he was talking about was out there. He was talking about some out there stuff. But he has some real pearls of wisdom in there. Sometimes he used to say these things that reverberate with me, and, you know, maybe this one here that I'm going to say will reverberate with you. It's one of those things that you hear and you just think, man, fuck, that is spot on, you know. And it is this. He said, you have to be depressed in a system like this if you're not crazy. And that is so spot on. You have to be depressed in a world, in a system like this, if you're not absolutely crazy. He goes on to talk about when you're crazy, you have no concept of what's going on around you, so you're blissfully happy. So you don't give a shit about what's going on, because if you really do see what's going on, you'd be fucking depressed. He's saying it's better to be crazy. He said he had a grandma or an auntie or something that was like 80 years old and she looked like she was 15 because she was crazy. So, you know, this guy, he talked about some real deep out there stuff. He talks about the Donald Trumps. He talks about 2 Donald Trumps. He talks about Hillary. He talks about the elections. And basically, Dick Gregory, what people don't know as well, he ran for president. He ran for president in 1968. He ran for president in 1968. And there's a story that he talks about with Real Black in this, about the 2 Donald Trumps and about him when he was up for voting for being president, and how anyone can swing. They were talking about, let me start from the beginning. They're talking about Donald Trump winning the election. And Dick Gregory, when he talks to this guy, sometimes gets a bit pissed off and angry with him for the way he asks questions. I don't know why. He's just, maybe the way the guy asks is a bit assumptuous or something, and he gets really pissed off. But anyway, they're talking about Donald Trump winning, and basically Dick Gregory says everyone is selected and they make them, whoever win, they want to win. So this is him talking about him in 1968 and giving the guy the Wall Street Journal front page from 1968 when this happened to him. And this is the guy we're talking about. He ran for president. This is not just a civil rights activist. This is someone who is actively getting involved in all types of politics and, and social issues. All right. And this is his story about how they can make anyone win the election. All right.
It's the Wall Street Journal. One of the most powerful papers in the world. Don't mean it's no good. What's the date? Now, hold it 1 minute. Hold it. Hold it. I ran for president 1968. The election was Tuesday, November the 4th. This story ran Friday, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Now, what's the date on that? What paper is that?
Wall Street Journal, November 7th, 1968. Page
Headlines.
6. Election computer goofs gives Gregory 9 million votes.
That's why you can't talk to me. I got too much information. I got 9 million votes in the state of Pennsylvania. Huh? Okay. That's what fasting do. Huh? Now read the first paragraph.
Some machines just aren't to be believed. Take the big computer in New York that was designed to compile results of Tuesday's general election.
All elections are tabulated in New York City. Go ahead.
At one point early yesterday morning, the machine was crediting Dick Gregory, the comedian turned presidential candidate, with 9 million votes in Pennsylvania.
Now, here's what happened. The energy took over, the computers, and They had to shut him down because it projected me as president-elect.
He said the energies took over the computers and gave the votes to him. He often says things like this, really like esoteric things, when he's talking about the energy of the people, the heart of the people wanted him to be president. So it fucked with the computers. He later goes on to saying this, I'll play it in a sec, when he's talking about they wanted the votes to be for Nixon. But what happened was the heart of the people and the energy fucked with the computers and made them give the votes to him. This is out there stuff. This is conspiracy stuff. He's not just, what they're telling you he is.
Of the United States. And they couldn't change it. Because they couldn't change the numbers. Wow. 9 million votes in one state. I know what it was. They went in there and tricked the machine for Nixon, but somebody put it on wrong and they gave it to me. So I'm going in the election and know all this bullshit y'all read. It ain't true. They did it just like they did that. Huh? Just like they did that.
Yeah.
Just like they did there. He's talking about Trump. He's saying, and that's just what they did there. They rigged it for Trump. They made sure he won. And this is what he talks about with all elections. And this is conspiracy stuff. He says they're all rigged. Everything's rigged. And he has these stories about famous people. He's got a story about Michael Jackson where he's talking about I'll play the ending bit first, where he's talking about Michael and how what they did to him and how they killed him. And then at the bit at the beginning where he's talking like really passionately, he's saying, look, don't assume about Michael. Like, he was just a kid. He never had no childhood or anything. He gets really emotional about it. And I'll play that bit after. But this next bit is a different story about Michael, how he's saying, this is kind of messed up as well. Dick Gregory is saying that he was called to Michael Jackson's house by his dad. No one gets called in. No one goes up to the 3rd floor where Michael lives. And he got called up there. Michael called him up there and Michael said to him, look, they're trying to kill me. And then basically it's a story of how he smuggled him out and everything like that. So listen to this. This is really fucking interesting. This is more than a civil rights activist, yeah?
I told Michael. I got to his house, man. His father called me and said, Michael need to see you. Michael couldn't go up. His dad and mom couldn't go up to the top floor. Huh? So when they sit there and said, when I carried the food up to him, I saw these little boys. Michael knew. Everybody knew him. Couldn't nobody go up to the 3rd floor. Huh? So I go and Orange County. Father come back and say, Michael wants you to sit in my seat. I go. So now the trial's over that day. We go home. He holds me and feel like an animal clawing me. Greg, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill you. I know. When the last time you ate, said poison me. When the last time you drank some water?
He's talking about Michael Jackson telling him that they're trying to kill him and that they're trying to poison him. And Dick saying to him, look, you need to drink some water. Like, this is fucking crazy shit. Yeah, this is conspiracy shit. All right. And you want to say, you want to hear what he says about how they killed Michael. All right.
Say, okay, here's the problem we got. I got to slip you out of here today and take you to the hospital. No, they'll kill Michael. Am I smarter than you? Shut up. What we'll do is get a driver and we're going to San Francisco to see a friend. What he didn't know is once we got out the house, when you saw that H for hospital, that's where I was going. I didn't know where. Nobody know we coming. So we go there. 5 o'clock that evening. Michael Jackson. Dehydrated. 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock the next morning, they still putting water in him. The doctor said, thank God for you, because he'd have been dead. That's how dried up he was. Okay? I know him. Huh? I know him.
He knows him. He knows him. That's what he's saying. I know him. He knows Michael Jackson. He rescued him from dying, basically, for dehydration, smuggled him out, said he was taking him to a friend, took him to a hospital. This is stuff he's talking about. And this is conspiracy stuff. He talks about Bill Cosby. He talks about Prince. He talks a lot about Warren Buffett. He talks a lot about conspiracy stuff, crazy stuff that people would deem conspiracy stuff. There's a couple of other bits I just want to show you. The first little bit where he's talking passionately about Michael here. And then I'll try and get to the bit about Ben Carson when he's talking about Ben Carson saying there was 2 Trumps. So listen to this bit. It's right at the beginning.
Michael Jackson, I mean, you knew him. It seems like he needed that fix, that money. It was never enough.
It wasn't money. It wasn't about money. He didn't have no childhood. See, y'all always be trying to talk about shit you don't know. He didn't have a fucking childhood. Huh? All right? He had all the money he wanted, all the fame he wanted. Huh? But he never bounced the ball. Huh? So y'all gonna sit there and talk about somebody you ain't never talked to him. Huh? Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. He's talking about him like, I know him. He's saying, you don't know nothing about him. He's getting really pissed off. He gets angry. He does this quite a lot. He's quite an animated character. He's an interesting guy. And when he talks about these things, he talks about them with confidence and gusto. And I know they do say that if you talk about anything with enough confidence and gusto, people will believe you. But it's one of those things where he just talks about so much different stuff. And I'm sure there is some disinformation in there. There's got to be. He's playing the game. It's a game, man. It's a game. That was his catchphrase. That's what I always took away from him. Every time I watched him, that's what I would take away from it. It's a game, man. Sometimes it makes no sense. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes what didn't make sense will make sense later because it's a game. And this is what he talks about. Alright, he talks about all this stuff. This is the stuff where he talks about there's 2 Trumps. Let's see if we can get on this Ben Carson stuff. I think it's a little bit later on in this video.
The one time Trump lost, he said it was rigged. The few weeks ago,
First, there's 2 Trumps.
Okay.
The one in the red tie is the real one. The one in the blue tie is not. The one you saw last night after the victory was the blue tie.
So the blue tie, Donald Trump, is not the real Donald Trump. That's what he's just said there. He said it matter of fact, calm. There's 2 Donald Trumps. The one with the blue tie is not the real Donald Trump. This is more than a civil rights activist. This guy knows what's going on behind the scenes. He was playing the game. He knows.
Now, if you would punch up Dr. Carson, Ben Carson, when Trump called him a pedophile, and the next day he joined Trump, and the guy asked him, see, every now and then you slip and say something. He said, what'd you do there? He said, it's 2 Trumps. I was with the good one. You see it there.
You see, this is the stuff he's talking about. This is pure conspiracy. There's 2 Donald Trumps. This is why I love the guy. This is why, I'm doing this video today, man. Rest in peace, Dick Gregory. He was a lot more than what they're giving him credit for. Yes, he was a good comedian. Yes, he was a civil rights activist. But he was a lot more than that. This guy, he knew what was going on. He knew. And I urge people, get on this channel, Real Black TV, have a look on here, all his videos he's done over the last few years talking about all sorts of stuff. And that's what I've just tried to show you, a little overview. That's nothing. He goes in deep about a lot of stuff. You can see the videos on the side here. Some of the stuff he's talking about. Bob Marley, fearlessness, surviving cancer. He actually said he went to El Salvador and there was some water that cured him of cancer, and the water would cure you of anything. He says about this in another video. This is what I'm talking about. These are the things he was talking about. He was talking about Michael Jackson being insured for 1.5 billion, all the conspiracies around that, and saying they killed Michael with a laser. All right, this is the last bit I wanted to show you. They killed Michael with a laser. Check this out.
A child. His mind was a child. Became one of the most powerful human beings in the world. And they killed him. And when they killed him, Just simple mathematics. He's getting ready to do the big show in London 50 times. God can't work one city 50 times, but made you think he could. And that childness in him, it never dawned on him. So he's ensured. This is your show. So the insurance is on you, not the rest of the people. So I insured for $1.5 billion. So when they killed him, you mean the Lords of London didn't see them holes in his arm? Lords of London, $1.5 billion, and they didn't see these holes? You know? Michael was killed at 2 o'clock in the morning from a laser.
From a laser. He was killed at 2 in the morning by a laser. That's what he just said. If that ain't the most conspiracy fucking theory thing I've heard, then I don't know what is. I don't know what rabbit hole you want to jump down. So this is the guy. We love him. He's Dick Gregory. He's passed away. He's passed away at a fucked up time because, as I said before, the black community in America need him today more than ever. We all need him more than ever, really. A voice out there talking about this stuff. So it's just my little tribute to Dick Gregory. So I am a diligent rascal. Get me on the Twitter. Anything you want to ask. Anyone you want me to follow on Twitter as well, because I'm going to be doing another one where I'll have a little flick through Twitter and see what's going on and see what's happening in the world. Have a little commentary on it as I flick through it live. It is Sunday the 20th of August 2017. I am the Diligent Rascal, at a Diligent Rascal on Twitter. This was the Dick Gregory tribute. Rest in peace, Dick Gregory. And thanks for joining me, guys, and hope to see you soon. Cheers.